Hello my spooky friends, welcome to Special Effects Makeup on a Budget, and today I'll be showing you how to make your own monster teeth to save you time and a lot of money. I'll be using polymer plastic, so thank you for joining me in my kitchen, and let's just go ahead and get into it. The cons of buying instead of making specific character teeth will cost extremely more, and then you have your random pack of teeth that are not very creepy, but then you also run into the add $30 to your cart to apply for free shipping. Tooth paint will often damage most teeth. Even dental work tastes gross, so why not pick up some plastics and some acrylic paint that you can find at any craft store and begin saving money. To begin, we need to warm up some water to at least 150 degrees. Polymer plastics will begin to become soft and malleable at up to 150 degrees or higher, but do check your temperature to be sure that you're not going to burn yourself. I take just a small amount each time of polymer plastic beads, and I pour the water on top of that, and you will see that the beads go from white to clear, and that's when you know that you have the right temperature. Even if you don't have a way to measure it with a thermometer, I give it a few minutes before I even try to mess with it to let it cool off just enough so when you touch it, it does not burn. I always use a utensil to take it up out of the water. I try not to never put my fingers into the water, and you see that here that the beads are clear and that it is pliable. And once I have a small piece, I pull it apart and I stick the remaining piece back into the water. This is going to allow it to stay clear and malleable without having to add more hot water. Once out of the water, it will begin to cool quickly. You only have so many minutes before it starts to turn white again, but if it's becoming difficult to sculpt, you can put your piece and dip it back into the water. Using a small piece, I roll it into my hands until I get a small little roll. This is going to be what I call the base to attach the teeth to. So one more dip back into the water, and then I place this over my teeth, being sure to push the plastic all the way to the very outside edge of the molars, and then pushing and pressing my thumbs up underneath to make sure I get this plastic up over the back of it, and then taking my finger I begin to smooth out the texture, and that gum at the top that goes up under the lip, I want that to be as thin as possible without it being razor sharp. Now all my teeth are crowns, so I'm being extremely easy to make sure I pop this out. I push my finger over the top and pull from up underneath the palate of the mouth. And once I have that out, I begin to smooth out any areas that I see that might have sharp points to them, and also thin out that top and up underneath that we pushed in with our thumb. You want that to be as thin as possible, because if you have it thick, what's going to happen is it's going to kind of hinder the way you speak even more so, because it's going to protrude your lip out a little bit more. And when I trim, I make sure that I trim and I don't cut in edges. I kind of round my scissors around anything that needs to come off, and I just pop them back and forth into the mouth, make sure they fit, thin out the areas that are thick, and I push it into the water to make sure it stays malleable. But you see that it's starting to turn white, so what I want to do is get that as fitted as quickly as possible. Even pressing on the upper portion of the mouth helps, and once you pull that out, set them off to the side. I'm making 3 sets of teeth today, so I'm taking another piece that's smaller and I roll it up in a little ball, and then I make sure to make a little roll, and I repeat the process again. I find that having dental work, because all my teeth except for the 4 discolored ones you see at the bottom are the only 4 that are mine that I have left. I am the root canal crown queen at my dental office, and I find that these techniques help so much better and gives you a little bit of room so that it doesn't click around your dental work, and it stays in place, so you have a good molded fit, but you don't have to worry about damaging crowns. So that's why I like to make them, and you don't have to worry about staining them with the tooth enamel polish that you can pick up, because I don't care what they say about it being non-staining. It does stain a little bit. All work, dental work, or real teeth, and it's just very nasty to have on your teeth, and it doesn't last a long time. So in order to make some sharp pointy teeth real quick, I take a piece and I roll it and make a small roll, and then I flatten that out. And then although it's turning white, you want it to be a little bit of white, not as opaque as when it dries. And then I go back and forth with my scissors to make those triangle sharp pointed teeth. Although I'm making several different kinds today, I'm showing you one of the fastest techniques to get that triangled pointed monster look. And be mindful about how long these teeth are, because they will be positioned and you want to be able to close your mouth. So while this is still pliable and able to be cut with scissors, I make several different lengths and several different shapes while I have the plastic sitting in water. It's just easy to make a lot of teeth at once, even if you're not going to assemble them at the time. So here I have a good amount of several different shapes and sizes. Moving on to the fang teeth, I'm going to take a small amount of plastic and cut that into the center. This is going to be that tube shape, fang-like look. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that it stays rolled, and I cut it in the center, and then I begin to pull at each end to make them pointed. And again, if it becomes unable to be soft and pliable, just dip it back into your water and begin to shape it in the height and the shape that you need. My fangs are going to be a little bit longer because I have the idea of like a snake or something reptilian, so those are going to hang out of the mouth. Now moving on, getting the teeth into place, I'm just using a super glue, and I'm getting them into the center. You'll see where the center is in your shape on the base by looking at the imprint on the inside. My rule of thumb when I'm making teeth, be it like this or on a sculpt, is I place my center teeth first. So I put the two in first, and then I work on each side. So I'll place a tooth on the left and then go over and place it on the right, and this will make everything stay center. It's just a good practice to get into. So if you're doing it this way, you never have to worry about things just looking weird. Now if you want to make your teeth all janky, this is the great opportunity to do it. You can layer the teeth, you can make smaller teeth in between the big teeth, and it's just a very fun way to make and customize your teeth. Once I have my teeth glued onto the base, I take another small piece of plastic and I'm going to thin this out and push this over the front of the teeth that we just glued in. And once I smooth that out up over the top and to the sides, I go in and I trim what I don't need, making sure that there are no hard edges. And then also I take a small tool, your finger, a toothpick, or a tool, and go in between the teeth. This is going to give it that gum look to it. It's going to embed it. So it's going to make it look like the teeth are in a gum instead of being glued on top of one. Before things cool off completely, I go in and I test to make sure that mine actually fit. You see what I'm talking about the long pointy teeth. You will not be able to close your mouth, but if this is the look that you need, I think this works just fine. And just for purposes today, these are very fun and very dramatic. Now I'm also making, I said, a normal teeth, but they're going to be decayed. So I go in and I do the same thing, rolling the sausage out, molding it to my teeth. And in order to make my fangs, I'm doing the same thing with each set, taking another piece of plastic and pushing that in between the areas of the teeth to get that gum look. Now you should not have to glue this piece on. If you find that it's not attaching, you need to stick it back into the water and press it into the other plastic piece, and it will fuse and hold. Here are the fangs. See how they stick out pretty good, and I am able to put my top lip over and be able to close my mouth. And here I am making a lot of funny faces. It just goes with the territory. Moving on to make human teeth. By no means are these going to be normal by the time I paint them. I take and snip just a little at a time, and I found that the best technique to make human teeth is to take a small portion, again roll it up into a little ball, and then I use the natural portion of my finger that begins to round in the fingertip. It's a little bit round, so the flat part is up toward the nail, and I make that a little bit flatter so it fits onto my base, but then I just push and round out the portion it seems to fit and roll over the tip of the finger for a more natural look. And I continue to do this until I get about 8 to 10 for the front. It just depends on how weird and how offbeat you want this set of teeth to be. To make molars, I go through and I roll that into a small ball, and I press it onto the tip of my finger, and then take a small tool. You can use a toothpick or your nail to do this, and if you're interested in the tool that I'm using today, I'll have that linked into the description below. But once you get those into place, those small indentions are going to hold the paint and give it that shadow look that represents the teeth that are the crushing teeth in a human. I continue to make the human teeth, the incisors, and the canines, and working my way from the center toward the outside. I make sure that those teeth get a little bit smaller in size, but I also make sure to do several different sizes. That way I can add and make them look as weird as I want to. One of my favorite things about making my own teeth is that I get to customize it as I want to, and it's very fun. You also get them a good fit and very comfortable. So those are the other benefits other than saving money and being very specific that I think that add to the fun of making your own set of. Another good thing to do is to press and make holes and cracks in the teeth as you go in this process. I think this is another good way to make them really gnarly and gross looking and just really, really messed up. So you can do that this process by using tools or cutting little snips into them, or even using an X-Acto knife to make it as precise as you want. Make those cracks have detail. I think it's a fun way to make it even bigger and bolder in the look. One of the things I see that most tutorials do not tell you about using this to make teeth is that you do need to make adjustments, because once the plastic becomes cold and it goes back to white, it does shrink a little bit, and that will be uncomfortable. So what I like to do is dip it back into warm water, which I have not heated up again. If you need to reheat it, do that. Don't lose your shape. Don't let it turn completely white. Just push it back into the water and begin to open up that very top portion where the gum goes all the way up underneath the lip. That's going to give you your best fit and most comfortable way of wearing it. So it's time to attach my teeth, and again I'm going in with the guide of the impression of my teeth on the inside to place the teeth into the front. And then I work from left to right on each side to keep things centered. I do go through and set randomly different sizes depending on how they fit once they are on the base. So just work with whatever you think looks the best for the look that you're going for. I heat up another small piece of plastic, rolling it out, spinning it, and making sure that it goes over the top of the teeth, so it gives you that gum line look and teeth that are embedded into the gum line. Making sure you have no areas that are sharp, and then pushing in with the tool in between the top of those teeth, and that will secure them without having to glue them. If you're enjoying your time here with me today and you're finding these tips useful, please consider subscribing, because I will have another tutorial about how to make more monster teeth even quicker and cheaper for things that need to go into cosplay costumes or into your sculpts. If you have plastic that has cooled and becomes a clump and is real thick, this is going to be hard to heat up later. And so the best way that I find to counteract this is to place it back into the water at 150 degrees and then begin to pull the clear away from the thickest portion of the white, flatten that out, cut it off, set it off to the side and let it dry, and repeat the process until everything is completely clear and flattened out. Now once this does cool off, I then just store it back into the container that I had for the beads. Polymer plastics do come colored, several different colors, but I tend to just use white because I can change the color with paints a lot easier. Today I'm using alcohol paints. This is the Skin Illustrator FX palette, and it requires 99% alcohol to activate it. Now this palette hardly ever goes on sale, but when it does, it's usually at the end of the year. So if you're looking to pick this up, I would wait until those Cyber Monday sales come through. That's when this one shows up. This palette is worth it, even when it's not on sale, because I've had it for about 4 years. And you can see that it's very well loved. And what I like to do is when I need to thin out my paint, I use my lid. You'll see colors that are sitting over there that are completely different from what's in the palette. Keep those. Do not clean that lid off, because that's going to help you thin out paint and give you some colors that you don't normally have. So what I'm doing is making the gum area a little bit irritated and a little bit pink. But you can make it any color that you like. And if one thing about alcohol paints is if you get a little too much color in an area, you can actually tap that off before it dries to have a more blotted look and blended look. When painting the gum area, be sure to get up underneath, because if you're acting and you open your mouth or move your head back, you're going to want that colored and not white. And to clean my brush in between just a little bit to pick up more paint, I go in and I spray my cap with some alcohol and I dip it in. But you can see when I use and color my teeth, I never have white teeth ever. I use a combination of yellow, green, and sometimes black. I use black into the gum line area because that's where the concentration of decay usually starts, at the teeth. And then if you have too much paint, again, just like the green, I went through and with a little piece of napkin, I just tapped that color off. You want to give each color time to dry before you go in and seal it. And I'm moving on to the fangs, and I'm going to make this the same coloration where the gum area is pink but yet irritated and the teeth are beginning to rot. So I just go through and I make sure that I get the look and feel of the colors that I need for the look I'm going for. And so this is the point where you have fun with it, make it yours, and just don't fret about it. It's alcohol paint, and if you mess up with alcohol paint, you can spray alcohol over it and clean it up completely even after it dries. So if you're looking to use alcohol paint, this is a good way to test it out and have fun with it. And for the price point, I know it's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's absolutely worth it if you're looking to use alcohol paint. Moving on to the human teeth, I do the same thing. I paint the gum area on the outside and up underneath it. Make sure that I get all the color, but do not paint the inside where the impression is. With a smaller brush, I'm going in under the gum line and also painting the teeth using a little bit of yellow and a little bit of green, making sure I get that decayed look by going through the gum area, placing some black and green just to make it look very nasty. And you can see this is how I'm mixing and adding a little bit of red into that lid area, just so I can get a bleed of color that looks very gross and very necrotic. I use my finger to tap out color that becomes too dark. It's the same thing as using the little napkin, but what happens when you use your finger is that it becomes blotted and it does spread instead of remove. I make sure to get some of that dark color in on the teeth themselves in between, because that's how natural decay starts in the gum area, and then it just kind of floats down in between two teeth. Another technique that I like to use is tapping my finger into that lid area that's got some of the red and tapping that onto the gum area as well as onto the teeth randomly. And going in with the monster teeth, I'm doing the same thing again, tapping darker color, adding more blood in darker areas in between the gum area to look more decayed. So now we have these two sets painted, and I'm moving on to the fangs. I did these a little bit differently by making sure I had more of a bloody gum area because I added a little bit of blood to the very end, like if it had punctured someone's skin. This is a good way to add that blood look without having to add blood later and, last looks that runny blood that stains everything and it's very messy. So this is a good way to get that look without having to use a gel or a scab blood. Again, I go in with my finger and tap in color randomly to make it look more necrotic, and I pour that cap that I use to clean off my brush, making sure I make use of all of that alcohol. I like to seal my teeth with a top coat of nail polish because I don't want to add gloss to this look later on. This is a way to make it glossy without having to apply anything but you are wearing it, and also it lasts for a very long time. I've had this set of teeth for about 4 years and I have used them quite often. You see they're very dark and gross and glossy, and it does not rub off into the mouth. Just be careful if you are using this and make sure that you are not allergic to any product that you are using to make these teeth by doing a little skin test patch on the skin in the crease of the elbow. I don't believe in having to go out and buy an entire spray can of gloss enamel. But also that's a bit more caustic than fingernail polish. But if you have it on hand and you can use it, that's Special Effects 101 that most people ask me what it is that I need to know. I say it is taking products and using them not for their intended use, especially when you're doing it on a budget. Here are the molars and what they look like when they're painted. You see that the paint comes in and settles into those grooves we put in at the time that the sculpt was done. Here they all are glossy and gory looking. We have some monster teeth, we have some fangs, we have some very janky and decaying human teeth. I think this is just a very easy, affordable, and fun way to make your own teeth, get an exact fit, and be able to customize it for the look that you need. And it's going to save you a lot of money. That Polymer Plastic brand, Poly Plastics, is a big container for less than $21. And I have had it for about 4 years now, and I've made very good use of it. So I hope you enjoyed this one today. I'd like to see some of the teeth that you create. Please tag me in your looks and let me see those. And if you'd like to see sneak peeks about what I'm doing next, vote on my next look. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Those links are below, along with my special effects must-have supplies list. You can find that in the description box. So thank you everyone for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tag me. Let me see some of the monster teeth that you come up with. I hope you find this very useful and that you make a lot of teeth on your own and be able to save yourself some time and money. So why do I make monster teeth? Save you time and money? Because I can when I want to. Because I can. Pickle Rick! Bye. If you like another fun, beginner-friendly tutorial, please check out this next video, and I'll see you next time.